It's time for Measure Twice.
Welcome to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Customer Modeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. And you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We are brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with a showroom now open in Granger right next to C. Kramer Interiors. And Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You could visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. Good show for you today. Great show, dare I say. I hate to brag because, you know, we're here because we think it's a great show. You're listening, I'm hoping, because you think it's a great show. But this week, we just came off the cost versus value 2 weeks. And the home remodel or addition is like later, like
towards the bottom.
You don't want to look at that. Like you just don't, because you don't put an addition on necessarily as a moneymaker.
No.
Unless you, I want to throw this out there. If you had a 2-bedroom cottage-style house in a residential area that you were surrounded by 3- and 4-bedroom houses, you might be stuck with that house for a minute because the 2-bedroom thing kind of, I think, turns people off, right? I mean, you just narrowed your. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. You narrowed your.
Yeah,
narrowed.
Yeah. But if you were, like, say, in a retirement area, designated retirement area, or you were, like, in Florida, in, one of those areas, or Phoenix, like if you were in, like, the Sun City, Arizona area, a 2-bedroom wouldn't be so bad.
Right. Would be the norm.
Yeah. So I'm not, like, saying they're impossible. I'm just saying, like, you know where your house is. And I would say, though, even if you had a 2-bedroom, having a powder room, like if you don't have that powder room,
you only have like one bathroom.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a thing.
That becomes a non-starter for a lot of people.
Yeah. So in those cases, you probably recoup better. Like if you add a powder room where there was no powder room, or if you're in a neighborhood and you're able to add a bedroom. I think it changes that cost value thing. Like where you probably, I don't know what the dollar is, but I'm sure you're not like losing the crazy amount that it says you lose on an addition. Not lose, but like the difference in
it's the cost of value is a lot lower.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's a necessity to add a bedroom in my mind.
There are some that would be an outlier for sure, but yeah, I would that would probably be the exception where it would actually, the cost of value would be much closer.
I agree. That's what I think. Because that third bedroom is meaningful.
Yeah,
especially if it's a master suite and you're able to add another bathroom to it.
Exactly. Okay, I don't know why I was. Yes, if you can add like a master bedroom, right? I mean, that's like when you're. Rarely do people redo like, oh, that's my side bedroom, I'd like to redo it. Like you don't ever really hear that. Generally, I mean,
though, other than like a facelift or freshen it up.
But you're not. I guess now I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh, people add master bedrooms or they make space for a master bedroom.
Typically, and especially in a situation like that, that's what I would assume. That's what you would look to,
right? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. Like we talk about it all the time. Master bedrooms, that's a key.
Yep.
Even though they've gotten smaller.
Much smaller.
Yeah. The closets got bigger.
Closets and bathrooms are larger. The sleeping space is smaller.
Yeah, I mean, and we've said this before. It's like a hotel. Everybody's gotten like this crazy hotel room, and they're like, "Yeah, give me the suite and all that stuff." And then you go in there and you realize I've spent 8 hours in here, and I was sleeping
with my eyes closed.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm not hanging out in here.
No, and everybody who thinks back in for a while there, the master suite was you had a sitting area, the bed, but it was unused space. Nobody ever lounges in their bedroom. I shouldn't say no one, but as a rule, we don't tend to hang out there.
Not really hanging out.
No,
and you're certainly not hanging out there with company.
That's very true.
The eyes wide shut situation
Yeah,
over there.
I mean, there's a certain demographic, maybe,
Yeah.
but
But generally, matter of fact, I know somebody who rotated furniture from their master bedroom into their living room because they had a sitting room, and he was like,
We don't.
"We were
use
going to
this.
buy new furniture," and he's like, "I got new furniture. I got furniture never sat on." Like,
yeah.
I beg to differ. It's a great place to throw your clothes.
You and my wife.
right on that treadmill. There. That's
We've got the treadmill and a chair, and I like the chair. I always tell her it'd be nice to have a chair in here because it's like a freaking owl tree.
I do the same thing. I did. But yeah, it's draped over chairs, and
Yeah.
I'll put that away later.
What's that thing that it like you can put your clothes on it?
A valet.
Yeah, is that what it's called? Like when it has like the hangers?
Hangers and the little stool and place to put your
Yeah.
incidentals in, and
Really?
yes, it's called a valet.
So you can hang your stuff twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Once there and
and then
then
move
one-
it to the closet.
Yeah.
I'm just I just put it back if it needs to. It goes back where it came from.
I cannot think of the documentary I was watching. It was about valets. The actual position.
Oh, I was
Of
going to say,
valet.
Pete, they have a documentary on furniture.
That'd be really boring.
Hey, mister.
It's like, wow,
Documentary's over.
this one's maple, this one's walnut.
Oh, I thought you meant like a valet at a hotel. Like, you know,
You're talking about the actual valets
Yeah, like
that
the
serve
person.
the
Yes.
yes.
and
They're no, thank you.
you don't want one?
No, I don't want somebody dressing me. Here's your underwear for today.
I mean, it really is like that. Like that. That's a position that,
Uh huh.
and they still exist.
Yeah.
And there's a school it's out west. That's
Like that you go to train.
yeah, and you become a real valet. Yeah.
They dress you and they dress you and
Well, they dress you, cook food for you, but they're more than a butler. They're not like a butler is.
it's more personal.
Yeah. So these people who have a valet generally have a butler.
Have you not watched Downton Abbey?
No, I've not.
But it's kind of like
It's one of the best shows on TV.
So in today's day and age, the modern valet also does like secretarial, like, coordinates.
I was going to say, because we don't dress as formally as
Right.
they did back then. And
Here's your T-shirt and your jeans.
But there's stuff that is well thought out.
it's a thong day. Here you go.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I'm wondering if that's easier to get on.
Wow.
That's a little too personal for me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's like, but
Yeah,
What's that got to do with
how would I get
remodeling?
everything in there?
you don't like the subject of valet?
I'm putting on
Well,
a
if you have a very large master suite, you might as well have a valet, right?
Well, I
You could throw a
think that,
cot in there for him.
I mean, I didn't even go there. I just went
Oh,
there
no.
because it was called The Valet, and it made me think of this documentary story and how they're really well paid,
well, they were
super well paid people.
well, that was an esteemed position.
Yeah, yeah, and they stay together for a long
And you
time.
work your way. He has to work your way up to a valet back in the day.
Yeah, it's like Batman, and I can't think of his
Robin.
no, not
Oh,
Robin.
the other guy. I can't
Gordon.
remember him.
No, that was Commissioner Gordon. Whatever.
Oh, man.
I know we're
People
gonna
are
get
yelling at the
inundated. Yeah,
radio.
we're gonna get inundated with stuff now. I will. I
What's his
digress.
name? I just
It's killing me.
Alfred.
Yeah.
Yes,
Alfred.
Alfred.
Yes, Alfred was a valet.
Okay,
And they
then we can
speak
go
the
to break.
truth. That was the other thing. Before we go, you're trained to speak the truth to the person you work for. You cannot be a yes person
Right.
and be a valet because then you're not being of service to them. You have to
Right.
tell them when their stuff's wrinkled or
Yes,
if they
that
were
looks
too
great on you.
yes, or if they were too harsh on their somebody or whatever. Like
I mean, they literally would have brushes to brush your suits.
the King's Speech is the other one that has the.
Oh, that's a great movie.
What a great! Highly recommend. If you haven't seen King's Speech, by the way,
so good.
it's one of the last great movies. Great movies. Have you seen this King's Speech?
I have not.
I'm going to tell you,
It is so good.
it's fantastic. It's not only that. How I can tie that back into our show? Look at the design stuff that's going on.
I
in
love
that.
I love that that old weathered
Yes, like,
studio, whatever his office was.
yeah, it's a fantastic movie.
He gets up to pour the king brandy, and I was like, oh man, that's so cool. Anyway,
I want to casually drink brandy.
I do too. I just never do it.
Yeah, who thinks of it? It's like I'm too thirsty all the time to have like liquor hanging around. I would get smashed because I'm thirsty, and I'm like, oh, I should
like any TV show where they casually walk in and open up their crystal decanters and are pouring. It's like,
there's magically unmelted ice at all times,
and it's like,
Yeah.
and they're like,
I should do that.
You have to have a valet.
yeah, you only a valet. Like,
Oh, nope. These are people come home and just pour themselves a drink after work, and it's like, who does that?
the other half, Chris.
Yeah.
Evidently.
Yeah.
My fault. We successfully spent this whole segment not talking about additions. So when we come back, we're going to talk about additions and really how to plan your life around it.
A valet.
Get a valet. This is Measured Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. And you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with a showroom now open in Granger right next to C. Kramer Interiors. And Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. Hey, if you're thinking of remodeling your house, right, or it's time to do it, or maybe you're in the middle of it, and maybe it's happening right now, or the enormity of going into, and I said remodeling, and I did that again. I mean adding an addition to your house. It's it's an enormous project, really. It's kind of a big deal. When you say
it's an undertaking for sure.
Yeah. I don't want to get, go over too much on planning, because it's understood that the planning for this has to take, you have to take that very seriously. Right? I mean, the plan really starts when you figured out that you really need an addition.
Yeah, that's when it starts.
Right? Now, when somebody approaches Joel, you, and they want an addition, what's the first thing you look for when you kind of inspect the area that they're looking at? What is it that you're looking for? What are some of the things that your professional eye is looking for, either to make it possible or just to make it, to do the project? Preliminarily, like when you just first inspect it, you're just like looking at
the house itself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're looking at where where they want it, where are you going to open things up? How would that work, flow? Looking at the ground, making sure that you're getting a basic idea of where utilities are. If you have a septic, where's that setting? A well? Is it city? Whatever. It's things like that, making sure that stuff is addressed if needs be.
Right. And I don't think everybody necessarily thinks about where their water comes in, when they're looking at or where wires are buried or
gas lines are coming in. And the other thing you have to look at is sometimes our setbacks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Always looking at setbacks.
Describe setback.
Setbacks is the amount of footage that you have to be back from your
property line.
Property line. Thank you.
That's different than an easement.
Yes, an easement is an access
to your
property, or if the county or city or something might have an easement.
So an easement can overlap a setback, meaning like a setback is just go to the end of your property, measure backwards. And there could be an easement somewhere over there, but you're not worried about that with your addition. You're worried about unless it goes into the easement, obviously.
Yes.
But if you have enough room, you're looking at the end of your property, literally how it sounds, setback.
Yeah. It has to. There has to be a certain setback from the road frontage.
Your neighbor's backyard.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything. And if the addition will be beyond what that setback is, then you have to apply for a variance.
Who applies for the variance? Is it the homeowner or does the builder?
Yeah, kind of do it together. I mean, I typically will end up applying for the variance because we're dealing with permits and things like that. But it just depends on the municipality. Sometimes, depending on what they want,
right? We're talking about
has to be a little more involved sometimes,
right? And we're talking about building an addition onto your home. So are you also looking at like roof line and how to tie in? Is that like also part of the preliminary?
A lot of times that can be the most difficult part of your addition is like figuring out how is this roof going to tie in an appropriate manner so that everything sheds the way it should and it will look decent.
When you say sheds the way it should,
the water, snow, whatever.
Right. Because you can create an issue, I guess, if you're real fast.
Real fast.
In there. And then are there, Chris, are you seeing like when somebody's doing like an addition from a design standpoint, like an aesthetic standpoint, you must look at the silhouette of the property. Is that how you kind of are looking at it? What's the silhouette going to look like? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, how is this going to look like it was always there?
Yeah, I guess right.
I mean, not like you don't want it to stand out like, oh, look, they put on an addition. They have different siding. They have different materials on the back. The windows don't flow with the rest of the house. I mean, all of those details. You want it to look like it's always been.
Right. And I guess the newer the home, the easier it is, I guess, to do that. But
yes,
when you get like older, then now you're in a different. Is there a period though? Is there like a cutoff period that you have to have stuff made? Like, is it like, oh, if you're built from the 80s till now, you can pretty much find windows that look like that everywhere. Is there like a cutoff decade? Is it like, oh, if it was born in the 60s, you're having handmade stuff done?
Not necessarily. I mean,
really.
There's like a good window manufacturer can get you there usually.
Really? Okay. Well, that just popped into my head. I'm like, obviously, if someone was built in the 1800s, you're probably going to have to figure that out. But
well, yeah, and sometimes if you're putting an addition on, you might be looking at some other areas of the house as well. And, these windows are from 1960. Let's change those at the same time we're putting this addition on.
Right.
So that way you can get everything kind of continuity from the very beginning. If not, modern, like Joel says, it's not a difficult thing to.
Do you find people are looking from the inside out more than they are from the outside in? Like they're kind of like, I just need this room in here.
They're thinking space.
Yeah.
I need this space.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to figure it out.
Right.
For the most part.
But you have to actually broach that that topic with them because it's like, okay, great, you'll have more space. That problem is solved, but we should also look at how do we solve the aesthetic problem for lack of a better term.
I don't think they stress that much. I mean, I don't get that.
No.
They pretty much assume it's going to look like the rest of the house.
And then that's where you guys come in and have to like accomplish that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what gets complicated, because we've done a couple where the house is brick, and we've added on to the brick and trying to match 20-year-old brick with new brick. That gets a little more complicated.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you solve that?
Very carefully.
What are I mean, there's got to be more than one way to solve it, but is there? Well, how do you do it?
The one particular project that we did where they had brick and we added on to the back of the garage and then did a screened-in porch on the back. And we were able to find a close enough brick, but it was how they wove it in with the existing brick. It wasn't like
they would have to save what was pulled off and then mix that in with the new brick, and it softens the look because you have enough of the old in there. Now, if you're putting on a whole addition, depending on the size, you'll want to do some of that too, but you're not going to have enough brick.
Well, but what they did, I mean, so in other words, instead of just, okay, here's the straight line where the bricks just kind of butted up together, it was all woven in.
Yep.
So that your eye didn't break necessarily, and it was close enough that honestly, and you'd really, it looked really good when it was done.
So from the far left to the far right, there wasn't that huge of a gap.
There was no drastic change because they
There's
wove
probably a little change, but because it was softened based
by
on
weaving it
in. But I guess, where do you find the bricks that are close? How do you do that?
Sometimes
I
you have
get
to.
keep the
Sometimes you
bricks.
have to look hard.
Yeah.
It depends on the brick. Some brick you can find really close, and it's pretty available.
Luckily, this house was just a red brick, so it was easier to find something to blend. But some bricks are really difficult to.
I'm assuming, though, when you shop bricks, you can bring a brick with you or two.
They have a sample board. They have a sample board.
Yeah, and you can get pretty close.
Because you can't. To me, you can't look at it in the showroom. You need to take it outside.
It has to be there with the other, for sure.
Like actually where the
because
the light's
daylight,
connected.
you're looking at different lighting. So when you take it to the property and you lean it up against the house, and you can see the true colors together.
Because in the room it might look similar, even if it's right next to each other. But you go out, that the sunlight,
and it could be completely off.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes when people are putting on additions to a brick house, they have to shift material away from brick and do something completely different.
Really? Mm-hmm. Like to siding?
Siding. Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes a wood siding of some sort.
Because the brick's just too hard to match or too expensive to match, maybe sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there are other things you could do, like an architectural painter could come in and
blend them.
Oh, really?
Things like that. But that's
expensive.
You end up spending a lot of money on that.
Architectural painter.
Yeah, they can change the color tones of the brick.
Wow.
They're out there.
It's true artistry.
I bet, because that's really sounds.
It's almost
complicated.
It's almost like buying brick twice.
Right. No, it actually exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, when we come back, let's take it inside for your edition. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential, and you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply, everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger next to C. Kramer Interiors. And Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We're talking about your addition, and I'm not talking about plus signs and minus signs or whatever. But we are kind of talking about plus signs, and we were talking about the outside and just making this thing look like it was there the whole time. And I think we like to use the word intentional, right? You want to look like it was if it does look new, it should look at least intentional. Right?
Should never look new. I'm just kidding.
Hey, but if you have to change the siding or something, I mean, that's going to look new. It's going to look different.
But it should look like it belongs.
Right. I was going to say it should look different in a good way.
Right. Yes, in a good way. That's the subjective nature of, and that includes landscaping. We don't talk about landscaping, but, you shouldn't get weird. Is all we're saying.
Yeah,
just shouldn't. We've talked about, though. I remember this is a long time ago. The house with the they added a planetarium. We talked about it a long time
in Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm thinking around here,
and you couldn't tell, but if you knew what it was, like you knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't once you know it's a planetarium, you're like totally
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you just walked up to the house, you're just like, wow, this is an interesting, this is a cool looking roof line, but that was added.
That's an expensive hobby.
I was thinking the same thing. Can you imagine? It's just like, I want a real planetarium. That means that's a rotating room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That rotates mechanically. You know, like it turns, like it's like.
That's why you have your valet.
Yeah, right. Crank. I wonder if they, you know, I didn't even think you could probably do it manually, right? You could
Oh
probably,
my gosh,
like,
can you imagine? No.
The pulley system on that would be sweet.
Oh, can
awesome.
you imagine?
feel like a Rube Goldberg type situation in there. And then you got to think, like, you built a planetarium, and that's the cost. But then the telescope you put in there is like just as much as the addition.
if you're doing that, then
I'm just thinking of resale.
Well,
you're not doing that to resale. Cost
Obviously.
of value on that,
yeah.
Yeah, but
way far apart.
It's like, man, try to find the buyer that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm really into the stars.
I mean, there's like, are you into? Well, you got to find. You know what you got to do is like market to the planetary registry. You know that thing that they try to sell you at midnight. You know, late night TV ads.
It's like, can I point that to the neighbor's window?
This is our voyeur room.
That's funny.
The old owners called it a planetarium. Oh my goodness! I mean, where I grew up, they have watch rooms on houses along the beach.
Widow's Walk?
Yeah, well, like Widow's Watch, or they call them, watch rooms, where, like, usually on the inlets there'd be one prominent house that would, like, in the old days, would watch
For the ships
harbor.
coming in.
Yeah, so the harbor master, that would be usually their home, and they would have and so lots of homes like mimic
Right.
that.
Mhm.
And I think
is really cool.
It's so cool. Like, usually it's not a big room, usually,
Yeah.
but it's
Now, that's something that I would love to have in the right house.
yeah, like you wouldn't build that.
I would sit in that.
Yeah, I mean,
A Widow's Walk? Or a Widow's Peak? Or whatever they're
you
called?
wouldn't do that, like, let's say in downtown Elkhart, or something like
If I were on the river.
maybe on the river. Yeah,
Because that would be just, nothing's more relaxing than sitting in front of water.
yeah, having it pass by.
Yeah.
And generally, there's like a little porch on the outside, so like you can be inside or outside on there. And like what I'm thinking, the nicest one I saw had those telescopes, and they were on wheels, and you could like move them around because you could see whales and stuff. Like,
Yeah, that's cool.
it's pretty neat, and I don't think one of those rooms is not like a planetarium. I mean, it can't be as expensive.
No,
as
no,
putting
No.
a rotating room.
But they were
there.
built for a specific purpose.
Yeah,
Right.
and but people now add them. I mean,
Right.
they're obviously
Because of the charm,
yeah,
kind of.
and what do you mean, kind of?
Well, they were meant for people if the ships didn't come in, then they knew they were
the
lost.
Widow's Watch,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, Widow's Watches are a little different, though.
Aren't they
Chris.
a railing on the?
Yeah. And they're usually, or you'll see like a round
at the top on the roof line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are more like where it comes out of the roof, and they'd be like
It's an enclosure
Yeah.
with a little bit of a walk off one
Yeah.
side or
Mhm.
both.
and so they're
Wasn't it the same purpose?
no, the harbor. These are built like a harbor house, like a house that was
Yeah,
meant
but they were
to-
still looking for incoming ships.
True. Yes, you're right. They did, but the Widow's Watch was meant for one person.
Right. My husband didn't come home.
Yeah. So they're a little bit. They're smaller. They're. Well, they would look for a certain flag on the ship too. So there's those. Some of the ships had flags that came down, and they would mark who was in command at that moment.
Oh, okay.
And if it was, when
If
they
it
come to the
wasn't,
harbor,
yeah.
the main guy's supposed to be in charge, and if you didn't see that flag,
Yeah.
then
Interesting.
you would know that something
Something happened.
happened. Right.
Scurvy.
But that
A really bad outbreak of
this is the
scurvy.
beauty of Measure Twice. See, we're talking about additions, but we're not talking about additions. But there is a difference between a watch room and a Widow's Watch. Widow's Watch
Okay.
is like meant for one person.
For the for the
They're-
spouse of the.
Extremely tiny
Yep.
rooms, whereas the watch room is more like, what's like, if you ever been to Notre Dame and you've been in the 1849 club it's super, super nice. That's like a giant watch room. When I walk in there, it reminds me of that. It's like all that viewing area and stuff.
Yep.
But if you're going to add one of those, you could add one of those to a house, couldn't you? You could.
Oh, could you?
Could you add a watch room or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, most of the time, yeah.
You're like, it depends.
So my house is a ranch.
Our watch
You
room is
could definitely do that. You're watching the
12 feet.
road.
You're
You're
right.
watching the
Our
road.
roof line's at 10 feet. Now we're about
That's
15
funny.
feet up there. Yeah, you're right. You would need the right home and the right setting. But like, we have a river. We have prominent rivers
we have
here.
lakes,
Yeah.
rivers. I mean,
I'm surprised that we don't see that on some of the nicer lakes here.
I don't think people think about it. Again, I
Chris
mean,
isn't bringing it up.
we are now.
Yeah.
No, yeah, right. Maybe we're going to start something.
Or every time it gets brought up,
We're talking
makes
about
fun of it.
We're talking about additions, and we were going to
That
talk
would
about
be
the
an addition.
inside, but that would be an addition. Some of the lake homes are so modern
Right.
that I kind of like.
it'd be difficult.
Here's what
You could do a modern looking
Oh, yeah. Why couldn't you?
one
could.
pit.
Why
one
couldn't you?
pitch. Yeah. I mean, you could do a modern adaptation of it.
I mean, people do what you want, but it saddens me a little that some of these lake houses are just like neighborhood houses on a lake.
What's their year-round residents for the most part? A lot of the bigger
A lot of
ones.
people are doing that now.
Yeah, but they don't tie the lake part into their
Right.
home.
Some do.
Some, but some are just huge.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to go to like a neighborhood and
Yeah.
Yeah. See the
And-
same architectural
Yeah,
They're
style.
not
that's
doing
what I'm
that.
saying.
They're not doing that big A-frame on the deck that goes out.
yeah, like
Come on.
come on, let's like make it. You already spent $2.5 million.
Yeah.
You know, like it wouldn't. It's not like it's more.
That was for the lot.
Yeah, Chris's face just now is like, yeah, right, $2.5 million for what? I mean, no.
I was gonna say, what are you talking about?
What are they? What is that? I haven't looked at that. It was 4.5, 4.
I have no idea.
No.
I don't look.
Well,
at
it's going to depend on the lake
Yeah.
and
Right.
the lot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we were going to talk about the inside.
The only water view I have is a bathtub.
He fills his bathtub
He does.
and stands on his toilet, and that's his water.
That's my.
He puts his little
Puts on his captain's hat.
Puts on a captain's hat. He's
got
got little
little-
boats in the tub. And he's like, "Ahoy there! Permission to come aboard!" And then he jumps-
Fire the cannon.
That's the soot stain in there.
The what? No,
Nothing.
I don't-
Nothing. No.
He said
Did he?
S.
He said soot.
Soot.
Oh.
Okay, because soot.
Oh, that makes sense. All right.
I don't
We're
want the
not gonna
FCC.
point
I
at
don't
it
want the
anymore.
FCC coming after.
We have 50 seconds to try to get past what you may or may not have said. My goodness. Well, I guess we're talking about an addition. You could add whatever you want to your home, basically. The key is, though, to make it look like it was always.
Yeah, you can add anything as long as you have the plan and have the permission and have the finances.
The finances are a big deal.
Yep.
That's what when you get what you want, when you pay what you can.
Yeah.
You know, like that's really the way it boils down. But we're not talking about anything complicated. Like generally, an addition isn't complicated unless there's pipes or you have to move a sewer or you have to, do things.
Well, that gets complicated.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like there's certain things that can complicate it. But when we come back, let's talk about the inside of your addition, which probably could take a whole show. But whatever. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graver. I'm tongue-tied after that last segment, by the way. Along with Joel Graver from Graver Custom Remodeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential, and you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply, everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger, right next to C. Kramer Interiors. And we're talking about your addition from the inside out, basically the outside. And there's no reason to rehash what we talked about before because it was senseless.
That's very true.
Made no sense.
As we digress.
Yes. But look, you discover you need an addition generally from the inside out. You rarely does somebody walk up to their house and like, I need this house just needs a wing over there. Because when they're designed by the architect, generally they're designed to look complete.
Yeah.
But from the inside, you discover, I need space.
Yep.
Or want space, or both. I think I'm trying to, how do I position this? It's like, what in your experience though, what space do people discover they need generally first? Is it a bathroom? Like they're short a bathroom, and
usually it's
that merit an addition.
Usually it's living space.
Living space.
That, or it would be like a master type suite.
So it's, even that's technically that's living space then too, right? Like
it is, but I haven't done as many. I haven't seen as many bathroom or bedroom additions.
Right.
I've seen more family room, living room,
kitchen
right.
additions.
And when you see an addition, when I think of this, I initially think, oh, we're putting another 20 by 20 room on. We're just sticking it on like a Lego. But that's not really reality, is it?
No.
It's not really reality, right?
Yeah, it could be, you're adding on, you want to increase the size of your kitchen, or you add 10 feet off the back, the length of your kitchen, or maybe past the dining room or whatever. That creates so much more space because you shift your kitchen a little bit.
It's amazing.
And it can increase the size of your kitchen.
It's amazing what even a 5-foot bump.
Yeah. A 5-foot bump can
even
make
2 feet can make a huge difference.
Really kind of.
That's true.
It's kind of remarkable. Like, or how many times have you removed a wall to open a space up and it just changes everything?
Oh, yeah.
Even light.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. How hard is it to just bump out 5 feet? Like along your back wall, like you just take the whole wall and go out.
The hardest part is the roof line usually on that.
Really? Because it changes the pitch?
Yeah. Well, you have to figure out how you're going to do that so it looks right and everything sheds water. Again, that's where on something like that, that's where you're really figuring out, okay, how are we going to do this roof in order for it to look right and work appropriately?
What are you going to say, Chris?
Or if I'm only going to go, maybe I need, 5 feet. Is that worth the $1? If it's going to cost me this much, maybe I need to go bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, when you go bigger and you're on the inside, your floor doesn't that jack your floor up, because now you have a floor that ends and now you need 5 feet more of it. Oh,
well, maybe you're changing the whole floor to begin with.
A lot of times, especially in the kitchen,
you're changing the whole thing.
Yeah, it's usually a major remodel anyway.
Right.
So flooring's getting changed, unless it's like a really nice hardwood floor. In that case, you're adding to it, and that's not hard to do.
No, not at all.
No, you have Hoosier hardwood that can come in, and it's
maybe
probably easier with wood too.
And maybe that bump out's for a banquet or a dining area or something of that nature. So
right, I think that I was just thinking of the flooring. In that case, wood is actually, it might not be it might not be less expensive, but it's easier to do because you can get it matched. Whereas if you have like a vinyl or luxury vinyl or engineered, you might not exactly be able to match that stuff, right?
Depending on the age and how long it's been down, and dye lots change,
or fading.
They even will change how they go together every couple of years. And so you might be able to get the exact same thing, but you can't actually
put it together. Yeah. Whereas wood,
or tile,
you can get it.
Tile, like you're not going to add on to if you have tile in your kitchen, you're not adding on to that current tile if it's 4 years old, because you're not matching that.
It's not going to match. Nope. It's going to look weird.
Yeah, it'll look like two different floors that are put up to each other.
This is my personal opinion. When I see somebody extending their house, I like wall to wall. Like, I'm not a huge fan of just putting a Lego block in. You know what I mean? Like, we just added to this. Half the house has like a bump out, and then I like just take the whole thing out. You know, like it's not that much more expensive, right? I mean, you're not putting a basement generally under it, right?
It can be. The bigger, the more square footage.
I mean, it's going to be more expensive, but I mean, like it's not exponentially more.
Once you break that seal.
That's what I mean. Like once you started it.
One of the things that I've never thought about was when you're putting on an addition, you have to check your furnace BTUs.
Yes.
Oh shoot, I didn't think of that either.
To make sure that it can handle the new space.
What's the remedy? A whole new furnace, or can you? Is there a way to add?
Well,
to
okay,
it?
so you do that. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes, if it's not big enough, you have to put in a bigger unit.
So there's nothing that exists that helps a furnace out.
I mean, you could put in
like air conditioning. You can
a mini split.
Ugh.
I guess we don't like mini splits.
Ugh.
Why don't you like them, Chris?
Oh, they're beautiful. They just
The cassette.
they're sewn lovely on your wall.
I was thinking they go in the attic.
You
you can.
You can, and those are okay. Now the problem is
how do you get to it?
well, you have to take that into account. Also, there is like the intake on that is there's usually a grate of some sort that will bring it through.
Then that's not elegant.
Well, it's better than that box on your wall.
That's true.
I mean, if you can find a place that it's conspicuous, it's great. You know? Inconspicuous.
Yeah, we knew.
We knew what you were talking about.
But how are you going to do that? Like, where would that be?
It just depends on how it's.
You could doll it up. You could put like garland around it at Christmas, and you can
full paint it into the wallpaper it.
But you're right. If you go too much, then you're.
It's just one of those things you don't really think about until you they come and say, "Oh, what's your BTUs?" Huh?
And
I don't know.
Heating the house is one thing, but in cooling the house too, it's not just it's not just the.
Yep.
Well,
and there's a whole. So if you're depending on what you're adding on, a lot of times with additions, people want to add a lot of windows to it. Well, there's a whole equation for figuring out what your BTUs need to be. It's not just square footage.
If you learn nothing else from today, go downstairs or wherever your furnace is and find out your BTUs and just know them, because you just never know. Thanks for listening. This is it. We're out of time. This has been Measure Twice.
Podcasts by Federated Media.